I think cycling, this is going to sound a bit wanky, but getting on a bike, I think, takes you to a different thing to a degree. So you can jump on your bike, and I think within that first 10 minutes of it's cold or whatever the fuck it is, or you can't be bothered, you get after that 10 minutes, you kind of get into that flow. The bike just tends to fit what I do, and I tend to fit the bike. I always found this thing weird. I don't often let people kind of come in and my dad died pretty young, died when he was 49, worked all his life, so probably worked from when he was, I'd say probably, his story is probably from when he was 10, like, you know. And the thing that's always stuck in my mind is that he died at 49 and hadn't not lived his life, he just worked. And I just thought, I'm not going to do that. I just thought, right, so I thought if it's not working for me, I'm just going to stop and I'll just go and do something else. And so that's basically what it's been about. So I think the philosophy is that I tend not to be tied down too much. Never bought a house, never probably will buy a house. Not incredibly rich, never have been. Mum and Dad were incredibly working class and poor, but it didn't seem to, it just made me work harder at it. Friendship's always, you know, same type of thing. If it's hard work, then it shouldn't be hard work. If you like someone, you like someone. If you're in love with someone, you're in love with someone, whatever. If your job's good, your job's good. I've always been into fashion, so right from, I knew I'd, you know, you kind of know, I suppose, when you're kind of growing up, 15, 16, I was always into clothes, or, I mean, probably most people were, I don't know. You know, so punk was a big thing. I really liked the whole imagery of that, which then leads to like glam rock or whatever, all those things, and design isn't, you know, interesting. And then it became more, that became on and off bike for me. I thought, well, I don't understand why I can't dress like this and still wear lycra, not have to look like a sports person off the bike or whatever. So the two things became, I really enjoyed making it so that off bike was as important as on bike for me. I was lucky enough to go to this Paul Smith show, which he invited us and said, hey, I'm doing a seminar on fashion and things and blah in Melbourne before he opened up his store. And I always remember he had this really interesting thing which kind of stuck with me. He said, oh, you know, I wanted to open my first store up. And I wanted to sell white shirts and socks. But he said, if I put white shirts and socks in the window, people who don't want white shirts and socks won't come in, do you know what I mean? So he said I would put in art or teapots or whatever the fuck it was. So curiosity would go, oh, what the fuck that is? They walk in, they wander around, and then they end up buying a white shirt and socks because they're curious, you know what I mean? That's basically what Northside was about. Things that made me happy and pleasing to be part of. Art, fashion, lots of other things that went in cycling stores back then. People were interested in skincare or, you know what I mean, you wouldn't walk into like a cycling store and there'd be like skincare products or magazines or art books or, you know, things like that. That's what we tried to do really. I've got a couple of things. But basically the book was a little thing called Two Wheels, and it was about the top 10 bike stores around the world. I was pretty flattered to be involved in that. This was the store when we moved from Greville Street to Chapel Street, and it was just like a nice old little garage that we set up. So a few little pics there. This is Ginger. She is a mini bull terrier, and she is 9 years old. Aren't you, Ginger? Hey. I really like dogs. They're kind of, they're not judgy McJudgy. They're just always there. They're always happy to see you, no matter what kind of frame of mind you're in. 10 minutes with a dog, 10 minutes on your bike, you're always feeling good. You know, I've been riding a bike since I was 4, you know what I mean, realistically. So I've always had a bike in my life. So what's that, 50 odd, 60 years, you know, 50 odd years. I've always ridden. I think, well, still being competitive at 55 or something, racing A-grade crits, was something that I really liked, and I've enjoyed pushing myself. I still enjoy pushing myself. Events, if some events came up, I'd still like to be. I like to be kind of, as much as I liked looking off the bike and on the bike, I still would like to be competitive. I mean, it's just in our nature, I assume. It's probably in my nature as well to be competitive, and I do like the view that sometimes people they look at you and they've already judged what you are. So I kind of like that about looking like this and then getting on a bike. Like I'm trying to do something with pedal at the moment with local loops, where we're trying to incorporate more of a community-based thing regarding cycling. So almost the bike is like 8th on the ladder of 10 things, or your attributes all the way down. Like you're a painter, you're this, that and the other. But I do use the bike to do this. Instead of the bike being the ultimate thing, and then there's all these other little things. I think if you can create a space where there's artists, whatever they are, the bike is just part of what they do. So I want to try and do that with Peddler. That's kind of a challenge to make that more community-based, not so racy, not so alienating towards people who maybe don't want to wear Lycra or only do 20Ks. There's a really good English saying, mind how you go. It's kind of like a thing of saying, take care. Yeah. And it's an English thing, and I always remember my granddad and all the oldies used to say, mind how you go. This is all I have at the moment, which sounds a bit weird. I've had a lot more, sold a lot more. So I've got my TCR, which I've had for quite a lot of years. The Rabobank is kind of probably my favourite of all time. Just the colour scheme, they just nailed it back then. The team looked really good. It was just a really good aesthetic, which of course I'm driven to. This is a new one, Revolt. It's a new gravel bike that Giant kindly have allowed me to use for a year. Suspension up the front, 40mm of travel. It's an absolute ball to ride, I love it. The Brompton is just a C range. This is their stock standard Brompton. I use that for commuting. And I've got a couple of others, bits and pieces in the garage, but basically these are the ones that I kind of use all the time. Sometimes you can feel like, old or knackered or worn out, and then jump on the bike and all of a sudden my body just fits to a bike. And that sounds a bit weird, but like I said, so then the ailments or whatever, your aches and pains tend to go away, and then your mind is clear. And I think for me, the bike has just become part of me, and I've just become part of that. And so the bike will always be part of what I do.